Archie.
I'm Muskan, and today we are going to watch US Air Force can strike anywhere on Earth, and here is how. So this is a big question because we know how powerful US Air Force is. They have different kind of aircraft carriers, and also they have amazing form of jets. And now why they are going to strike anywhere on Earth? This is a big question.
Exactly. I have heard about US and I have seen many videos until now that how powerful US is. But apart from it, I would like to tell you about the Indian Air Force that recently we had an operation strike on the name of Operation Sindoor, which was on Pakistan, and it was very deadly. But apart from it, I am also very curious to know about the US Air Force, which can strike anywhere on Earth. So let's just get into this video.
The US military has a habit of delivering democracy with express shipping. At any moment, a bomber can take off and hit a target on the far side of the planet before you've finished a long movie. Sounds impossible until you realize it's not speed that makes it work, but reach. So how is that even possible? Keep watching and find out. The US wasn't exactly built for global domination. Sure, it rolled a nat 20 on geography, endless resources, ice-free ports, and 2 oceans as aquatic bodyguards. But that advantage cuts both ways. If enemies have to cross an ocean to reach America, America has to cross one to reach them. Now you can see why. For most of its history, the US kept its nose out of overseas politics. Hey, quit laughing. Crossing oceans isn't cheap. Sure, America teamed up with NATO in 1949, but before that, isolationist doesn't quite fit. The Monroe Doctrine was just the polite version of get off my lawn. Things started changing long before NATO was even a glimmer in Harry Truman's eye. It began with a so-called folly, Seward's folly. That's when the Secretary of State, William Seward, bought Alaska from Russia for pocket change. The cost, $129 million in today's money.
So
Less than what
Alaska
some
was a part of
blockbuster
Russia?
movies cost to make. The Russians thought they'd unloaded a frozen wasteland. Instead, they sold America a walk-in freezer full of gold, oil, and a century's worth of bragging rights. Sure, the oil's great. The actual bargain? The real estate. Those 9 military bases in Alaska became the perfect launch pad during the Cold War. America's way of saying, we see you. And they still matter today. Because sure, there's Russia and China. Yeah, China. Those Alaskan runaways, closer to Beijing than New York is to Los Angeles. Seriously. Suddenly, the US wasn't just guarding its borders, it was reaching across the planet. Alaska changed the game. Those oceans? Puddles now. Just a few years after shopping in the frozen aisle, the US set its sights somewhere warmer. Aloha, the Kingdom of Hawaii. In 1875, they signed the Reciprocity Treaty. On paper, it was about sugar. In reality, it was about strategy. The US got dibs on a quiet lagoon, perfect for ships. Less perfect for Hawaiian independence. By 1887, Washington upgraded from visitor to landlord. Exclusive use of the harbor, coal, repairs, control. It was the geopolitical version of, I'll just leave my stuff here for a while. America won the Spanish-American War, and Uncle Sam went island shopping. Hawaii was annexed. That little lagoon leveled up into Pearl Harbor. The Philippines and Guam joined the roster. And Guam is Sam's favorite child. Sure, the island is tiny, 210 square miles, but it's spoiled. It's got everything an Air Force needs. 2 runways, enough fuel to fill 110 Olympic pools of please don't light anything. The Pacific on its doorstep. The palm trees are just a bonus. If the US Air Force was a boxer, Guam would be its pivot foot. The thing that lets it start throwing punches across the Pacific without losing balance. From there, bombers can leap from the homeland to any hotspot on Earth in hours. Around 100 aircraft sit ready at all times. In a crisis, 400. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the US picked up Puerto Rico. They planted a flag in Cuba and got a base at Guantanamo Bay in 1903. Suddenly, Uncle Sam had oceanfront property on both sides. Convenient, but a logistical nightmare. Cape Horn isn't cruise country. Down here, the furious 50s throw 50-mile-an-hour tantrums and 10-foot waves on a good day. And there are no good days. Further south, the screaming 60s join in. You don't sail here unless you've written your will in waterproof ink. So the US found a better route. the Panama Canal, the
Panama
world's
Canal.
biggest shortcut. 6% of global trade squeezes through here every year. The French
Oh.
tried first and face-planted. The US took over, finished it, and flexed. Hard. Technically, America handed it back
Flexed
in
hard.
1999. Technically, if things ever get dicey, it's still the US Navy holding the wheel. That's when America stopped dipping its toes in global affairs and cannonballed straight in. By World War II, Britain was buried in debt and Uncle Sam was holding the tab and the keys to its global backyard. Then came NATO. Then more alliances.
NATO.
Today, the US has formal defense pacts with 51 countries. That's a
Wow.
lot of friends to call when things go sideways. And it's not counting the it's complicated relationships. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Taiwan, and lately India.
India.
The Korean War supercharged it all. The alliances, the logistics, the sprawl. Now American bases are everywhere. At least 128 in 49
Whoa,
countries.
in
Second only to
49
Starbucks
countries.
locations. There's probably more, but, classified. But
Top
those bases
secret.
let the US keep setting the rules. With outposts everywhere, the world starts to look a lot
Lot
smaller
smaller.
and very much under new management. The United States has Europe covered like a clingy ex. Always around, always just checking
Just
in.
checking.
Across Europe, America's everywhere. Bases, nukes, and 63,000 troops. It's like the military version of McDonald's. They're just missing a drive-through. In East Asia,
Oh.
the US has more real estate in Japan than some Japanese companies, and still finds time to flirt with South Korea, the Philippines, and
They have a
Australia.
very nice
Commitment
explanation of
issues,
this.
global edition. Then there's the Middle East, the planet's gas station. 20% of the world's oil and nearly half
Middle
of its
East.
gas
Yeah.
sail under Uncle
Known
Sam's
for
watchful
oils.
eye. Turkey, Iraq, Bahrain.
Bahrain.
Got liquid gold? America's parked nearby. End result, the US isn't just in the band, it's conducting the orchestra. America's reach is so huge, the British Empire would be sweating through its red coats. It's got
Oh.
outposts at the literal ends of the Earth, like the Pituffik Space Base in Greenland, where even the polar bears need GPS. Population, about 150 troops, and one very tired
are-
coffee machine. The nightlife's the Northern Lights, and the
Wow.
job description is
Dream.
watch the sky and hope nothing bad shows up. And speaking of work, if you like these map dives, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Apparently, you can't list Google Earth Explorer as a tax-deductible job title. During the Cold War, this icy outpost was packed. 6,000 troops, proving frostbite builds character. These days, it's
Oh.
quieter. Mostly missile warnings and space surveillance. No,
No
aliens
aliens.
spotted. Yet. But the runway still earns its keep. It's big enough for bombers. It's long enough for bombers. And just right for cargo planes, including the giant C5 Galaxy, the Amazon Prime of the global projection. These things move everything.
Everything.
Troops, tanks, fuel, whatever keeps the flying circus in the air. If the Navy can't reach it, the Air Force just flies over and says, "We got this." The C5 can even swallow an Abrams tank whole. A plane does
Whoa.
that, and it's logistics.
Wow.
I do it with a slice of pizza, and suddenly it's concerning. Let's get back to the bombers. There's another base, one less remote than Pituffik, but still the kind of place your GPS rolls its eyes at. Head south from Greenland,
Greenland to
to
Iceland.
No,
Iceland.
the actually green one. On the Reykjanes Peninsula sits Naval Air Station Keflavik. It's busier than
Oh.
you'd expect for a place mostly known for volcanoes, sheep, and existential weather. In 2019, a B-2 Spirit bomber stopped off for a quick visit. It liked what it saw and refused to move out, which means something's up. The B-2 isn't exactly a
B-2 stealth
guest.
bomber.
It's the military
Sven's my
equivalent of a
favorite.
designer puppy. Needs constant attention, perfect lighting, and climate-controlled hangars just to keep its skin from peeling. And now,
Oh.
Keflavik's got the makeover room ready. So why all this effort for a windswept tundra and a bunch of volcanoes going through their moody
Moody
phase?
phase.
Well,
Yeah.
in geopolitics, location is everything. Even if the neighbors are mostly puffins. Alaska,
True.
Pituffik, and Keflavik are cheat codes. Each one lets the US Air Force shave miles off the trip to anywhere worth
Worth
worrying
worrying
about.
about.
Let's say Xi Jinping makes a move on Taiwan. The US Air Force needs backup from outside its regional bases, which, let's be honest, would already be taking a few hits from Chinese missiles. But there's a problem. the tyranny of distance. And
Tyranny
no,
of
that's not a
distance?
Huge
Death Metal Band's
distance.
attempt
Yeah.
at a power ballad. It's the actual term experts use. China gets to fight in its backyard. Uncle Sam has to cross the planet just to show up. From Los Angeles to Shanghai, nearly 6,600 miles.
Way
of,
too
are
far.
we there yet? For the US, that's a lot of money and fuel burned. Risky, expensive, and sure to make someone in Washington think, is this really worth it? But
Is this?
Uncle Sam is playing on easy. The distance between Anchorage, Alaska and Shanghai is around 4,300 miles. Why Anchorage? That's where Elmendorf-Richardson Air Force Base is.
Which is
Saying China
everywhere.
isn't the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe Putin starts window shopping for more
Putin.
of Europe. Getting American troops there, still a logistical headache. From Boston to Vilnius, Lithuania, it's about 4,100
Yeah.
miles. That's a lot of in-flight
Big
movies.
distance.
But launch from Keflavik instead, suddenly
It's
the world
quite
gets
near.
smaller.
Yeah.
The distance drops to just under 1,800 miles,
miles.
practically next door. That's why those old explorers risked frostbite and scurvy chasing the northwest and northeast passages. The top of the world may be frozen, but it's faster. The distance
Yeah.
between continents shrinks when you take the shortcut instead of the scenic route. America figured that out. Its rivals,
Smart.
not so
So
much.
much.
China loves calling itself a near-Arctic power. That's like me calling myself almost Mr. Beast. But no amount of branding
Almost
gets
Mr.
rid of
Beast.
sea ice. Russia technically can, but it's got ports that freeze half the year and put its ambitions on ice. These two no-limits partners have plenty of limits. Because unlike the United States, they don't hold the choke points their economies depend on. They just get choked by them. This
Oh.
is the Strait of Malacca. It's the overachieving cousin of the Panama Canal. $3.5 trillion
They're
in trade
cousins.
sails through here every year.
Every
all squeezing
year.
through one watery bottleneck.
Yes.
10 ships an hour, in or out. But
10
one
ships
country
per
depends
hour.
on it more than
Wow.
anyone else. China. 2/3 of its trade flows through here. 83% of its oil and most of its natural gas. For Beijing, this isn't just a shipping lane. It's a stress test. The nightmare scenario?
Oh.
The US Navy drops anchors nearby and flips the off switch. China's been losing sleep over that for decades. It even has a name, the Malacca
Malacca
Dilemma.
Dilemma.
So it's
Malacca.
time to come up with a solution.
What's up with this
Overland
dilemma?
routes with Russia, naturally, but that has to come from Siberia, which is a
Oh.
really hard place to do business. Check out my video on that. Better think of a plan B then. In 2013, Xi Jinping rolled out the Belt and Road Initiative. China's
Oh.
attempt to turn global trade into its own delivery network. The shiny centerpiece? The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor,
Pakistan.
or CPEC. The idea was simple. Skip the Strait of Malacca entirely. Ships unload at Pakistan's port of Gwadar. Then, oil
Gwadar.
and gas would cross land to China's Xinjiang province. A shortcut across mountains and desert. It's China's attempt to cheat the game, and the US. Why? Well, let's head south. This is one of the world's most remote and controversial
Controversial
islands.
islands.
Diego Garcia, 2,200 miles off the coast of East Africa, smack dab in the middle of nowhere and halfway to Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Once a French leper colony, it's now the world's most strategically placed speck of sand. In 1965, the UK bought Diego Garcia from Mauritius.
Oh.
Bought doing the heavy lifting here. Britain then granted Mauritius independence. Great timing. By 1966, the US had already called dibs on the island. The only snag, 1,000 islanders were already living on
1,000
the empty
islanders.
rock. The
Wow.
solution? Relocation, empire style. Those who
Oh.
left
Weren't allowed
weren't
back.
allowed back. The rest were shoved out. Even the
Oh.
dogs were killed to encourage cooperation.
God.
By 1971, Paradise was paved over. The island had a shiny new runway. 1,000 people lost their homes so a superpower could park its bombers. Colonialism with added afterburners.
This is not
Why
fair.
all this trouble for a remote island? Of course, remember, location is everything. Look at
Yeah.
where Diego Garcia sits compared to CPE. It's practically giving it the stink eye. China's Pakistan project hasn't exactly gone to plan. A railway went nowhere. The port of Gwadar hemorrhaging money like a crypto bro. But let's say China makes it work. I know, but play along. It still has one massive problem. Diego Garcia, and it's
Oh.
packed with enough toys to ruin Beijing's day.
Toys.
Climate control
I love the
B-2
way they call
hangars,
jets
2 long
toys.
runways, bombers, fighters, tankers, transports, everything flies from
Everything,
here.
yeah.
Fuel stockpiles so massive, if the US didn't already own Diego Garcia, someone would be scribbling invasion plans on a cocktail napkin. It's less a base, more a floating sledgehammer in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's America's unsinkable aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean. If push came to shove, the US Air Force could choke China's supply lines from here. No problem. Coincidence then that Beijing suddenly discovered its deep concern for Mauritian sovereignty? Nah, didn't think so. But supporting Mauritius' claim over Diego Garcia isn't just about justice for the former islanders. It's about eviction notices for the US and UK. Even if China pulled that off, it wouldn't fix its problem. The US might have grumbled when Britain agreed to hand the islands back to Mauritius, but it's hard to worry when you've got backup routes across every ocean. Let's rewind to the fall of 2001, a weird, angry time in America. For the first time since 1812, someone crossed an ocean to hit the mainland. So the US decided to return the favor by air. On October 7th, the Spirit of America took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. It was a B-2 bomber built for one thing, reaching anyone, anywhere. The B-2 is a flying gas tank with wings. It can cover 6,900 miles without stopping. The Earth's diameter, 7,900. This thing can almost fly to the other side of the planet in one go. Forget New York to London. Try New York to Tokyo.
Wow.
This was just after 9/11. The destination, Afghanistan. And the B-2 was packing. It was hauling 16 GPS-guided JDAM bombs. Each one a precision-guided, don't mess with us message for the Taliban's air defenses. But all that muscle came with a price. Range. The planet suddenly felt a lot bigger. 4 hours after leaving Missouri, the Spirit of America hit the California coast, just in time to meet another Air Force masterpiece, the Flying Gas Station. The U.S. Air Force has about 600 tanker aircraft, 3/4 of the world's total. Without them, those far-off bases would be little more than expensive parking spots. The first refueling happened at sunrise. The mission stayed in daylight on purpose. Melatonin and billion-dollar aircraft don't mix. You don't want your pilots nodding off mid-global strike. The bomber refueled again over Guam, then over the Strait of Malacca, something that'd make Beijing's blood pressure
Guam
spike
plays
today.
very important
It
role
then
over
made
here.
one more mid-air pit stop near Diego Garcia, which always has tankers ready. Topped off, it turned north toward Afghanistan. By then, the pilots had been in the air for more than 24 hours. When they hit the Pakistani coast, they popped what they called pick-me-up pills to stay awake.
Pick-me-up
Caffeine
pills.
just doesn't cut it when your office is a stealth bomber. On a trip that long, something was bound to change. And it did. By the time Spirit of America reached its target zone, 70% of the objectives had shifted. So as night fell, the pilots reprogrammed their JDAMs mid-air. Nothing says high-stress job like redoing your homework while crossing
Oh my
continents.
God.
They dropped their payloads undetected, helped secure air superiority, and started heading home until new orders came in. 4 JDAMs left, 4 new targets. Mission accepted. The fuel was running low. No problem. A tanker over the Arabian Sea swooped in like
They
DoorDash
have
with jet
everything
fuel.
just
Refueled,
ready.
They hit Afghanistan again.
No
dropped the last
waiting.
bombs, then topped off once more for the flight to Diego Garcia. 44 hours in the air. It's the longest mission
44
ever.
hours
Nearly
in
2
the
days
air.
in the cockpit. Even the plane's toilet
days.
gave up halfway through. Next time you're complaining about a long flight,
Remember about these guys,
ran 2
yes.
days without plumbing
True.
and with enough firepower to erase a city.
Oh my
Perspective.
God.
But this mission was just the dress rehearsal, the warm-up act before the main show. It was the kind of mission that used everything the US had built since it accidentally wandered out of its hemisphere in the 1940s and didn't book a return ticket. Bases, alliances, refueling stops. The global version of leaving your toothbrush at someone's house and saying you live there now. It started on
Love
June
his
13th,
examples.
when Israel skipped the usual shadow games and went straight for the main event with Iran. Nuclear sites lit up like a Christmas tree. Even scientists started calling in sick. But the crown jewel was the Ferdo fuel enrichment plant, buried deep hardened, and way out of Israel's weight class. The F-35s and F-15s are sleek, fast, and deadly. But when it comes to bunker busting, they're bringing a pea shooter to a fight.
Oh.
The U.S. watched closely. Popcorn in one hand, satellite feed in the other. They saw an opening. Why let Israel have all the fun? Operation Midnight Hammer was born.
Midnight Hammer. They have such a classy name.
That sounds like a 1980s action movie. Diego Garcia was the obvious launch pad. Close, quiet, and conveniently stocked. Each B-2 carried two 30,000-pound bombs, the kind of cargo that makes turbulence personal. Short flight, no tired pilots, no toilet trauma. But while the world's eyes were on Diego Garcia, the Air Force pulled a magic trick.
What?
7 more B-2s quietly slipped east across the Atlantic, refueling at mid-ocean pit stops like Laja in the Azores, a Portuguese island chain that's basically Europe's Airbnb for bombers. Once the B-2s crossed the Atlantic, they linked up with support aircraft. The Pentagon called them 4th and 5th generation. Military speak for expensive and shiny and something we don't want the taxpayers asking about. Where they took off from is anyone's guess. Ramstein in Germany, the biggest US base outside of America? One of the others scattered across Europe? Who knows? That's the perk of global real estate. You're never out of options.
Options are
Then
never
came the main event.
empty.
The moment the B-2s slipped into Iranian airspace, the region lit up like the 4th of July. The U.S. Navy had ships and subs lurking nearby. If the Air Force throws a party, the Navy's bringing fireworks.
Nice.
Launch, all perfectly timed. Nothing says teamwork like synchronized explosions. At 2:10 a.m. local time, the first B-2 dropped its 2 bombs on Fordo. Then came the rest. 14 bombs in total, each one found its mark at Fordo and Natanz. Meanwhile, the cruise missiles struck Isfahan last, keeping Iran guessing till the end. In all, 125 aircraft played their parts. President Trump later added that 52 of those were tankers. Even global airstrikes run on gas. And the result? Every plane that entered Iranian airspace left untouched. Iran didn't even get a shot off. It was like showing up for a duel and realizing the other guy already packed up and left. The flight to the target area took 18 hours. Add the bombing run and the trip home, and it totaled 37 hours. No confirmed reports about the toilet status, though. Probably classified. The damage?
He's more interested about that.
Iran's nuclear sites were hit hard, though not erased. Tehran could rebuild if it's willing to burn a mountain of money, time, and national ego to do it. But the real takeaway came from the skies. The U.S. Air Force proved a point that night. There's no ocean too wide, no airspace
That's
guarded.
true.
If Uncle Sam wants to knock, he doesn't need an invasion.
Uncle Sam,
I see you as Uncle Sam.
Unlocked the ultimate cheat code. It's something every gamer, fighter, and wannabe superpower dreams of. Thanks to its engineering brains and global network of friends with runways, America...
It was at all a very informative video, and as we also saw about the Operation Hammer, I can just imagine the power it holds and about all the aspects. US is everywhere. Be it any part of the world, it can attack from anywhere, and hence it is actually proved.
Yeah, this was a very informative video, and now we got all our answers at how US can attack anywhere on earth, because they have their bases in 49 countries, and I just feel like I'm surrounded by the bases because they have covered the whole earth. So I think so this is very interesting. This just shows the power of Air Force, US Air Force. So what do you think about this video? Let us know in the comment section below. So like, share and subscribe.
Bye.